Today I'm going to be talking to you to follow up on that Gypsy Rose Blanchard story. So she just came out of prison on the 28th of December. As we all know, I'm sure by now, she was involved in the murder of her mother. She was finally released to be able to spend time with her family. And what she's done is she's released an exclusive docuseries, and that came out on the 5th of January in America. And it was released slowly, a couple of episodes after a couple of episodes, and it's due to be released in the UK on the 15th of January. And I've managed to watch every episode, so there's 6 episodes, so now I feel like I've really got the full story and filled in some of those pieces to the puzzle that were missing, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So what else was spoken about? What else did she reveal? I think that a few things I wanted to know was, does she regret it? Does she condone it? All of those kind of things, especially because her last interviews were years ago when she'd only just gone to prison. And now this is obviously after she's come out of prison. Well, mostly it's while she's still in prison, but it's leading up to her release and then briefly after she's released as well. You see just at the end, which I'd seen a little bit of crossing over on social media. So she's on social media and I'm looking every day to see if there's another little video. She's doing a video nearly every day, and she's got over 8 million followers now on Instagram. We learn, similarly to what she said before, but with more depth, that she does regret it in a way, but not completely, because she did feel that it was her only way out, and maybe in a way it was her only way out. She wishes that she didn't feel that way. She wishes that she thought there was another way out and doesn't condone necessarily what was done. You also learn that she regretted it as it was happening, basically. I mean, she was in the bathroom while this psycho that she didn't even know, that she'd only met so briefly once before, was in there doing the deed, stabbing her mum to death. She was in the bathroom with her ears covered, trying not to be able to hear, but sadly she could hear, and she says that she will never ever forget that, hearing the sound of her mother's voice screaming, and literally even screaming her name and shouting, "Gypsy, help me, Gypsy, help me." So sadly she's got to live with that forever. And actually at that point, if she had a choice, she would have run and helped her mother, but the fellow who was doing the deed had actually said to her in advance, "Don't come in the room while it's happening, because when I say he had multiple personalities. So this personality was called Victor, a 500-year-old vampire. So he says that when Victor gets into these ways about him, there will be no stopping him. So basically, if she was to come in the room, she would end up being murdered herself. And that's a very good reason not to walk into a room and try to stop something, isn't it? To be honest. That being said, a little while before, we also learned that she shot her mum as well. Yeah, not everybody knows that. She actually did try to shoot and kill her. There was a gun, it was on the side, it was her mother's gun, and she's picked it up, and she's been so upset with her mother and so looking for a way out, she's actually shot her 10 times. But then she finds out shortly afterwards, when her mum's not very injured, that actually it was only a pellet gun. And her mum actually makes excuses up for that and for her, and covers that up by saying that they had a robbery in a Walmart parking lot. They call it a car park in England. So she did sort of try a little while before. She really did feel like that was her only way out. Some other details are that she got married in prison. So I think, again, we see that on social media. We see her new husband, Ryan, who is not the boyfriend that killed her mum. He's got lifetime in prison. So this other fellow, so how does she meet him? How do you get married in prison? How do you even know somebody that well? And apparently it's like a fan thing. He'd heard of her. He thought she was cute and wrote her a letter. Apparently she gets a lot of fan mail, a lot of men coming on to her and sending her love letters and things like that, but he sort of shone out, so she agreed to meet him by him visiting her in prison. And after, I think it was 7 times, maybe a bit less, 5, 6, that they agreed that they would get married, and decided that they would like to do that before she's released, and so they rushed that one through. But then we're having another celebration with the family after she's released from prison. So that's lovely. And it's all about, as well, talking about the relationship with her father and other members of her family, because, you know, it's all very well her mum doing this to her, and having this munch on her by proxy, and sort of making out to the world that she was disabled and ill when she wasn't. But what about the rest of the family? Did they not notice? Did they not care? What about her own father? So turns out her own father was only 17, 18 when he got with her mother, and certainly wasn't in love, and she got pregnant very quickly within a few months. Didn't necessarily want to know, and this was before that he found out that she was had disabilities. So in a way, I feel like maybe the mother started to fabricate them to get more out of the father in the beginning. So he says he was sending like $1,200 every single month to support them, and I have a feeling that the guilt trip was laid on for him not being around, firstly, and secondly being disabled and everything. The more the mother would talk about these disabilities, the more the father would sort of throw his hands in the air and believe that she was such an amazing mum and doing way more than he could ever do, which is very much the impression she tried to give to people. So I think that's where the con stuff's probably potentially started. We're right from before she was born, and then it continued beyond just the father to other members of the family. There was stories of her going to cousins and things like that, and then her bouncing on trampolines and enjoying that. But then her mum would come along and see that going on, and grab her and take her home. Oh, don't be ridiculous! She's disabled. She can't do that. Put her back in a wheelchair. So she was very restricted. And what else was there? There was that. It was also, you know, how much did her mum make up these illnesses, and how much was real? Some of it, I believe, at the beginning was real. So again, I think she was diagnosed with sleep apnea as a baby. That one could have been true, and then it developed from there. So we know the leukemia wasn't true. She believed it was. Gypsy herself actually still believed that was the case until she went to prison about making that up. Hold on. There was the sexual molestation as well. So even though she was only like 9, 10, I think, something like that, she would go and spend time with her grandfather sometimes. And she talks about in this wonderfully sinister, she talks about how her grandfather did molest her. He would touch her inappropriately and have her touch him, and that she obviously wasn't able to discuss this properly or fully with anyone at the time. And the interesting thing is that during the series you do see an interview with said grandfather, and he denies all knowledge, of course. Well, I say all knowledge. He does talk about how apparently she used to try and touch him, and he used to tell her no. So another little sinister piece of information that came out in the series. But the great thing is that it sounds like she's had a lot of support in prison. She's had education that she never had before. She's obviously been sociable, managed to talk to other women, learn from their experiences a little bit, got married, and she's now been out for only sort of 2 weeks, but she's already learning loads more about life. And luckily it sounds like most people are being very supportive and they're on her side, and that she is being encouraged to start a new life, have a happy life, and go on to have a family herself. And she's talked about how when she does have children, she's going to definitely do like the opposite of what her mum did, and that she has got a very clear idea about what not to do with her children. So that sounds quite positive. That sounds like she's learned something good there, and she's not planning to carry on a similar process to what her mum did. But all in all, I thought it was a really interesting series. I love learning more straight from the horse's mouth, as it were, hearing Gypsy talk about everything from her perspective, how she feels now, how she felt then, going over everything, basically, from when she was a young girl up until the day that she leaves prison, or the couple of days after she leaves prison. So it gets you nice and up to date. Highly recommend watching it. And please let me know if I've missed anything. Let me know if you don't know where to watch it. I might be able to give you some tips and where to catch it if you're in the UK. What did you think? Did you enjoy it? And have I missed anything? Like I say, any takeaways that you had that I haven't? I really hope you enjoyed watching this video, listening to this. And as always, please don't forget to subscribe. And hopefully see you again soon.